All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to DAO Talk Weekly. This is DAO Talk, your one-stop shop for everything DAOs. I'm Tommy.
I'm Cool Horse Girl.
Frisson decided not to join us for episode 50, which is just depressing. He said he had a
Shameful,
call.
isn't it?
Yeah, he said he had a call the same time as this, but I don't know. I don't buy it. Maybe he'll be joining us shortly. If he gets off his call early and joins us. But this is episode 50. We've done 50 of these bad boys. That's just the weekly episode. I think we've done over 100 total of DAO Talk. CG, you've been around for all 50, but you've only been a host for the past couple four. Any thoughts on the DAO Talk pod? It's still pretty niche, pretty small audience, but it is growing. We see you out there. Thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. So it's like, it is few, but I do meet people at conferences that listen to it religiously. And I wonder how good like the stats are on Spotify. Like you can actually see who's listening to it, but I totally meet people who, when I mention you were Fridge, they're like, oh yeah, from DAO Talk, which
I don't believe
that's
you.
something, right?
I don't believe you.
I swear to God, I've met two people.
Two, yeah. I guess, yeah.
My mom listens. My mom knows you.
Yeah. I mean,
She's like, oh, Tommy with those blue eyes.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh no.
Thought you'd like that one. Yeah. That's a true story though.
I was editing last week and I was telling Frizz this. I was like, this podcast is so niche. We're such nerds, but like, it is what it is, right? Like, I enjoy doing it. I think people enjoy listening to it. I think the DAO space is small but mighty and very passionate about what we're doing. And I think that is the foundation of any, large industry down the line. There's always a time when it was relatively small and passionate and niche and, maybe looked down upon. And maybe there's a lot of second guessing of whether, you're in the right space, you're doing the right thing, and then you double down on it and you keep building. And I think maybe I've fallen victim or other people have fallen victim to like, well, we're expecting it to happen in 2 years or 3 years. But I think sometimes things take much longer than that. And we'll be here throughout it all as we grow and the ecosystem grows. But yeah, I mean, big on that topic, like a big launch this week from Coinbase, which is, the leading the charge, I would say, or on the front lines of bringing crypto mainstream. Coinbase has done a lot of, God's work for the entire ecosystem, kind of leading the charge and being the shield, no pun intended, against like regulation and, bringing crypto into the mainstream. But if you were unfamiliar, I doubt anyone listening is familiar, but Coinbase launched Base, which is their L2 this week. Let me read a tweet from them on their announcement, and then we'll kind of dive deeper into a discussion of what it means. Base is open and on-chain summer is here. Become a part of Base history by minting Base Day 1 to join the story of bringing the world on-chain. Absolutely killed the marketing. The entire rollout of Base there's been a few bumps, but in terms of from a marketing perspective, which is mostly how I view it, it's been pretty awesome. Coinbase always kills the vibe game, which is pretty awesome to see from someone as large as them, and why I think they're doing God's work, being the spear for crypto, because they kind of kill it in every aspect. CG, any like broad thoughts on Base launch this week? I'd love to get it from your perspective.
Yeah, a few. Like, I'm a huge fan of Coinbase just because I've used it as an off-ramp for years, which is maybe somewhat shameful in the crypto space, right? But still, yeah, no, they definitely hit the vibes. The one thing I will say is, like, how have they not used Based, like, this is so based, for their marketing? I mean, that's like a massive one, right? As a based ghoul holder, I guess
I wonder if they had to have had the conversation. I wonder if they were just like, we're not doing it. Like, we're going to avoid.
Someone must have put their foot down because it's crazy. It just hasn't come up.
But also maybe not. Who knows? But I would assume, yeah. And also maybe they wanted to stand alone and not, co-opt a already existing saying in the space, but who knows?
I'm just saying it would have made my based ghouls that I hodl pop off probably. So small L, but exciting nonetheless. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you minted the base day one?
No, have you?
No, but I think I'm going to. I've minted a few of the Coinbase things. I like that they do this kind of minting for such like a, like even I said it's somewhat shameful to be like a frequent Coinbase user in the space because of the like centralization and all.
Mm-hmm.
But they do make an effort to be at least a little bit degen. With the NFTs, even with like a Dune dashboard. I mean, that's more than what you can say for most sexes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. 160 million has already been bridged to the layer 2 on base mainnet, which is I guess went live a week ago, but officially went live yesterday or 2 days ago if you're listening to this on the release day. But it's live on Tally. Frisson had a great tweet, and we released our PR around it. Builders and users take note. Tally's decentralization stack is now available on Base. Tooling is no longer an excuse for projects with tokens to have centralized admin control of treasury funds. Frisson bringing the heat as always. He might be joining us here in a second, but yeah, Base is live on Tally. We're excited to see DAOs start to get built on Base and support on Tally. So it's super exciting. Thoughts?
Yeah. I think for some like context on that one too, which we didn't talk about last week, is the rug from the Bold meme coin. That was like Base's first project, and on like that just wouldn't have happened if Bold was on Tally, right? Obviously. Because it would actually be decentralized. So it's exciting to think that there's an easy solution to this common pitfall on L2s. Like these rugs, 85% post-launch is crazy. But yeah, easy solution. Welcome, Frisson.
Frisson.
We're talking about your
GM,
tweet.
we're talking about your tweet. We're just running through the Base launch and what it means for the ecosystem as a whole. We literally were just talking about your tweet as you joined. So welcome, my friend. Also, just jump right into it. Thoughts on the Base launch and what it means for Tally and what it means for DAOs, particularly on a macro scale and a micro scale.
I have a lot to catch up on here. Like starting with like CHG, are you recording in like a shower? What is behind you?
Well, I told you I'm trying to switch where I work every day, and I was recording in the basement of my friend's pub, and then someone came in and said they were teaching a salsa class. So now I'm recording in the washroom of my friend's pub.
I love it. I love it. CHG comes in from everywhere.
You can expect a new background every time.
Yeah.
The real reason to watch DAO Talk.
Yeah. Tally is anti-rug technology. So, like
that could be the meme.
Yeah. I thought about actually including that when I was tweeting about this, but I don't want to imply that it implying that things are rugs are kind of a loaded term. But it's true. There's really no reason this weird crypto industry of meme coin degenerates where everyone is like, there's a new chain, we're going to go over here and try to figure out which meme coin is the one that isn't going to take all my money and instead is going to 10x. This industry, there's no reason that these folks shouldn't be just putting the folks who are building these meme coins, putting the I guess treasury or the whatever percentage of the token supply that they retain as the dev in a governor contract so that everyone understands where it is and isn't possible to rug. And what that means is that if they're not doing it, right, it's probably a rug. So we need to figure out how to get the people who don't intend to rug to do this as a differentiator so people pile into their projects. So I think that is happening to some degree, right? Like tally is a signal of quality, but probably hasn't penetrated the meme coin industry yet. It's more, at the like larger protocol level. So got to figure out how to get these meme coin devs to kind of see the light on on-chain governance.
Anyone can be a meme coin dev in 27 seconds. Maybe we could make a video like that for Tally. Like, you can get on Tally in this many seconds. And then we can share it with the meme coin one. And that makes the connection.
This is a product exploration call live on DAO Talk. I think it's one of my favorite quotes of DAO Talk is anyone can be a meme coin dev in 21 seconds or 27 seconds. Oh my gosh, I love it. Well, we're super excited for Base. We're not going to beat a dead horse here. It's been the talk of the town all week. We'll link all of the things we talked about early here on in the show notes if you want to get involved and start building on Base. Maybe read the docs so you can build a DAO on Base. I don't know what you think, you guys, but there's not been a ton of activity on layer 2s in terms of like DAOs being built. I think like Polygon is the biggest, and we've explored why in the past in terms of like transaction pricing and infrastructure. Optimism has a little bit. We're rolling through them on Tally right now on the network like indicator on Tally to see what DAOs are on which. Polygon definitely has the most after mainnet. Do you foresee, maybe Frisson, start with you since you're like resident technical expert. I know expert's a loaded term, but do you foresee, Base being an unlock for DAOs on L2s, or do you think it's a problem that it's not solving, or there's a problem I'm not addressing here? That's the reason why, we're not seeing a ton of activity on other L2s besides Polygon.
I think that Tally is kind of where the most mature protocols govern, right? And that's why we haven't seen a lot of adoption yet on like a lot of these newer chains, basically. Like the ecosystem just still has a lot of maturing to do. I've been pushing pretty hard actually in the Arbiter ecosystem because there are some reasonably large protocols like GMX, Treasure, and Camelot come to mind that just do not have like trustless governance, or governance guarantees in place. And I have definitely like made my voice heard on that topic a couple times. So I'm hoping that I think we just need to continue evangelizing, right? I think the key point is because some people are just more risk tolerant than others, right? Like I've talked with protocol devs in the past who are like, well, yeah, like we have legal risks for the fact that like we're on a multi-sig and are the only ones in control of this protocol and funds, but like it'll be fine, right? And that's kind of like, well, that's your decision. You know what I mean? I think where the pitch is harder to ignore is around go-to-market. So like my view is that the like stickiest and highest quality users and liquidity in the space do care about governance, right? So like if I am an institution or even like a crypto like institution, right? I'm like a team or like a small hedge fund or whatever, right? I want to know if the team can rug me. Like and that's going to affect the amount of funds that I'm willing to deploy into this ecosystem. And so that's where I think the message really can be compelling for some of these teams is like you can actually unlock more liquidity by helping people understand how the protocol is upgraded and who has control over the protocol's funds. So there's not these like magical increases in token supply or magical decreases in liquidity that people aren't able to follow. So that's like a message I've been pushing, but I think we still have work to do.
No, I'll just echo the maturity thing about Tally. We've talked about in the past, like internally and maybe a bit externally, like what DAOs are actually on Tally. And if you scroll through Tally, there's like what feels like millions of DAOs, right? There's like 5,000 plus at least. I think that's an old number too. And some of them are like 500K. I'm on a different number there. Yeah. Some of them are, like you got to put your meme coins on. That's how we get it. But yeah, I mean, some of them are like, even when I write the newsletter, some of them are Aave, Arbitrum, Optimism, like, the most like well-known, important, massive ones in the space. And then there's also ones that are doing really cool things that aren't as like maybe well-known, but Unlock's a great example. Content Guild as well, which I'll small plug. And then there's also a bunch of tiny random ones on Tally. So I like that Tally doesn't have a like exactly specific use case of who can be on Tally and who can't be on Tally, even if some may benefit more than others. So yeah, Base is huge opportunity for DAOs of all sizes to join, even if that's pioneering as the first one. I'm excited to see it on there for sure.
Absolutely. All right, moving along. We've talked about this before, this tweet from John Charbboneau around proof of governance. Going to start calling this proof of governance instead of POA. POA is accurate for something like Noble, but that's different. Proof of governance can be similar. Consensus voting mechanism are different. But importantly, you have governance processes in place to choose those delegates. CHE, I know you wrote about this in the Tally newsletter. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it around like proof of governance versus proof of stake, or the similarities or differences around it. And we'll link to this as well. There's a whole talk around it from John Charbboneau that we'll link as well, but we're not going to watch a YouTube video live. And then I would love to hear Frission's response, if there is a response to it. Floor is yours.
Yeah, John Charbonneau is so cool. He has a lot of like hot but correct takes, sort of. I feel like there's a lot of like Twitter people, slash influencers who just drop like the hottest takes ever that don't make a ton of sense if you really read into it. But this one makes such good sense. So like maybe I'll try to break it down just a bit. So he's saying like, should roll-ups ditch staking? And he's saying yes. And it's not just a semantics thing, this like proof of governance versus proof of authority. It's like a very real thing, because proof of stake makes sense, but it also doesn't make sense, right? Because ultimately, take Lido, for example. So Lido picks 30 validators and will outsource building blocks to them. But that's not you as a staker picking your validators. It's Lido picking the validators, which is fine in some regards. But like we just talked about, it'll affect how much you want to put in and how comfortable you feel with the validators. So if a validator acts maliciously or quote unquote misbehaves, you can get slashed, and that's not by your own doing because you didn't pick the validators. So John Charbonneau, in both that talk and this tweet, what he's sort of talking about is activating sort of delegates as proof of authority that would be voted upon by the protocol to be validators, rather than the protocol just choosing them themselves. So a good example of that is Arbitrum's on-chain governance model and the Security Council, which maybe Frisson, you can get into that, how that reflects directly on proof of authority versus proof of governance.
Yeah, so I think that governance is kind of underutilized as like a means for it's an underexplored design space for chains, right? So we talk about how Tally is how you run a protocol, but what is the actual difference between like a blockchain, right, and a protocol? There really isn't a difference. And one thing I've been thinking about a lot lately is if you start to unpack, on-chain governance in the sense that most people do it on Tally and proof of stake, for example, like Ethereum proof of stake, there are a lot of similarities in the designs, right? Like ultimately, one of the important guarantees or like crypto economic incentives that drive Governor or that drive Tally are the idea that like the people who have voting power in the proposal also hold a token which has market value, and so you're sort of exposed to the downside of the financial downside of like making bad governance decisions, which is like a stake, right? Like it is similar to the concept of putting up like 32 ETH, and then therefore like having an incentive not to, break the protocol. Of course, that doesn't like that needs to be like very thoughtfully implemented and doesn't give you guarantees against everything. In the same way that Ethereum proof of stake is just like the stake part of it is just one piece, right? And there's like a lot of nuance to the implementation. And so I think like I just think like generally like my version or like my takeaway from John's whole like proof of governance meme is that that protocols or blockchains or app chains should think more about on-chain governance as a method or like a tool in their overall like chain security implementation. And so like the way that the Arbitrum Security Council works is a really good example of this, where on the one level, it's a security risk that they have this, 9 out of 12 multisig that can just like categorically upgrade the chain instantly. But the fact that they have to be elected in like a programmatic, autonomous manner by the holders of the ARB token, who have a stake in the protocol, kind of adds some additional safety and security into that process.
It all seems very obvious in retrospect, right? Very like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Maybe we should have these extra guardrails or extra steps in place, which is just interesting. I feel like that's the crypto space in a whole, the DAO space versus the crypto space, the differentiation. But interesting. Okay. Couple more things before we wrap up episode 50. Yeah, Frisson, by the way, this is episode 50. Big 50. Late to the party, but glad you could make it.
Let's go.
50 episodes. We're going to run through Tally Newsletter real quick. The beginning of it is basically what we talked about last week around the curve exploit with Viper and Aave. But there is an on-chain proposal section, which I think is very insightful for anyone who wants to stay updated on what's actually happening with on-chain DAOs. 2 big proposals from Arbitrum DAO. We've covered both of them, I believe, or we covered one of them. One of them is funding the grants framework proposal around Quest Books and the Pluralistic Grants Program from Plurality Labs. AIP number 4. Update Security Council election start date to ensure time for security audit, which basically just delays the Security Council election to make sure everything is secure there. A proposal from Compound, add Matic X as collateral to USDC v3 Polygon market, which just seems like a basic operations proposal, and then a noun style v3 upgrade, which includes an edit to the nouns fork. And then there's always the what we're reading and listening to, which I think is my favorite and maybe the more insightful part of the Tally Newsletter. This collection of articles and topics that the Tally team and the DAO Talk team has been reading or listening to throughout the week. Of course, DAO Talk episode is included from last week, and then there's a meme of the week as well. CHG does a great job with this. Do you have anything you want the people to know about the Tally Newsletter? Why they should read it beyond the fact that it is super insightful? Any like how the pudding is made?
Yeah. Well, for one, I usually put a picture at the end of. Usually it has an animal in it, but something I'm doing that week. Oh, those cookies were so good. But anyway, I think the proposals section is really helpful. Like if you're just a DAO voter in general or part of those DAOs, I think it's pretty helpful to get the proposal summarized into like 2 sentences on what you're voting for. I think especially non-delegates, like if you can't be bothered to read the whole proposal, the newsletter's so key. Every single proposal that's live on Tally is going on the newsletter that has like voters over 100. So likely any DAO you're part of that has a proposal live, it'll be on there, which is pretty helpful. It's been helpful to my personal like friends in the space. I think some of them just scroll to that section, vote, and then move on, but that's fine.
Love it. Make sure to check out Tally Newsletter edition number 109, which will be this week or next week if you're listening to this on Friday. One last piece. We had a new article from Content Guild, one of the newer articles, or one of the more recent articles from in a long time, actually. Dodging the tyranny of Dodging the tyranny of structurelessness in DAOs. That is a tongue twister. It's from Rika Goldberg, a multiple-time contributor to Content Guild. Go check out this article on the Tally Mirror. If you want to get involved in Content Guild, DM me or DM anyone on this podcast on Twitter. We'll get you into Content Guild or get you an application for Content Guild. This is a very deep dive into the structures of DAOs and why it is important. Very deep. So I would definitely go read this. It is an awesome piece full of juicy research from one of the most smart members of Content Guild. Go check it out. That is it, my friends. Any closing thoughts on episode 50 of DAO Talk? Through the episode 50, a look back at 50 episodes. It's been pretty wild. We talked at the beginning, Frisian, about how it's very niche, but also like a very strong audience, and it's kind of reflective of the DAO space as a whole. You know, small but mighty, building, even though, you know, it's not the sexy part of crypto. Any thoughts? No one? That's going to be the end?
You were so eloquent there. I don't know how to follow.
All right. Well, we'll be here for another 50 episodes. Hopefully. We'll do episode 100 soon. I'll see you next week for episode 5-1 of DAO Talk. Frisian won't be here. It'll just be me and CHG. He'll be frolicking through the mountains somewhere on the west coast of the United States. We'll see you next week. Peace.